3. Testing 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Hi, hey there, hi there, ho there. This is halfassed Junior, RHJunior reality check, coming to you live over the system of tubes, imitating the boob tube known as YouTube. Coming to you with spleen squeezins. Lord knows I'm happy about it. Coinkadinkly, I have a very difficult time determining just how well balanced the audio is in this. I don't know if the background music is too loud or too soft. I don't know if my voice is too loud or too soft. So, like, if I'm blowing your speakers out every time I say, you know, pick Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. First, you know, haha. Second of all, please tell me, you know, because I don't want to be doing that. You see, even at these distances, the power of the internet compels you. The power of the internet compels you. The power of the internet compels you. What you gonna do about it? Nothing. That's what you're gonna do. I'm so mentally disturbed. I've got a grand audience of one. A grand audience of one. Me. Hello. Hi, Cartoon Glutton. Okay, big question. Is the music in the background too loud or too soft? Is it just about right? You're the only one there. You're going to have to answer for the audience, you know. Because you're awesome. Okay. You know, I fantasize sometimes about having like a full setup here. You know, like some of these people who are like professional at this. Oh, you can only barely hear the whistles. You can only barely hear the whistles. Okay, I'll turn up the music a little bit. Doodly doo. Is that better? Okay, now we're having static troubles. Now our feed. Oh, stop that, YouTube! Shame on you, YouTube! Shame on you! It's so hurtful when you do that. I'm turning down my own headset so it's not distracting me, because when I try and talk with something playing in the background, it's really bad. Okay, this is okay. I'll be honest. Part of the reason. Okay, doo-doo is hitting the fan. Doo-doo's hitting the fan here. Okay, I've been telling you, I always whine about my finances. I'm a bum. That's all I can feel about it. Kind of stupid too, because if I'd have been smart, I would have, you know, in the physical condition I'm in, I should have been all over, you know, Social Security disability like white on rice ages ago, years ago. I'm going through the process now, but it's being handled by my health, in my insurance company, my healthcare. I'm on Medicaid. That's a strange thing. They've apparently got a system where they, if you're on the Medicaid card, where I am, and they ask you, do you want to apply for Social Security disability? I'm like, and the reason is because I've got legs like Dumbo. You know, I'm serious. You know, I could barely walk. So it took me years to admit, you know, yeah, I officially qualify as disabled. So, you know, I find, you know, they're supposedly running through the paperwork right now, which basically means sitting around playing hurry up and wait with the U.S. government. I haven't heard a word from anybody in months. But anyway, I'm getting off the point. Okay, for those, if you've checked my website, if you've checked my Facebook feed, you know what the situation is. Okay, look, my finances have never been good. I've never been, let's put it this way. My goal for Patreon is to reach a level of monthly income where all my bills are covered. My bills, the average person, in my living is about $1,000 a month. Rent, utility, bills, taxes, it's just everything comes to about $1,000 a month. I make about $500. So you can guess how well that's going. Well, and first off, I already owe. It comes down to this. I looked up. I owe about $5,000 to the IRS, and that's not because I'm a cheat. Okay, I just want to make that clear. It's not because I'm a cheat. I don't want anybody to ever think that that I've been been hiding in a tree trunk someplace while April 15th rolls by and trying to hide my money or something like that. What it is that because I am self-employed, I have to file my own taxes quarterly. I'm supposed to file them quarterly, but I'm supposed to estimate how much money I'm going to make for a full year and send them 1/4 of that each quarter, and that's supposed to cover everything, including my Social Security. Well, I'm making so little that it's a choice between doing that and being able to have the lights on and the heat and the right pay. Well, every year I file my taxes and they run the numbers through, and if it weren't for Social Security, I wouldn't know a thing. More often than not, I am at or below the poverty level most times. But because I'm self-employed, ostensibly that somehow magically makes me rich. And so I'm expected to pay Social Security regardless, whether or not I can afford it. And so every year for the past ever since 2014, okay, do you understand? Ever since the 2014 tax year, I have had to file a payment schedule with the IRS, and the payment amount I've had to pay them has varied from 50. It's sometimes 50, sometimes 80. It depends upon how much I owe at the time. It is on average about $90 to $100. I pay them every single month. And it's come down to many months. It's been a choice between paying the rent, the utilities, and the IRS. And you can't send the IRS a partial payment. They don't do that. They don't think that's funny. But I send that money in, and I'm shorted. And this has been because I'm paying them every month, I have to at the end of the year I haven't got any money left. I can't save any money. I can't set aside any money. I can't even entirely pay all the bills that I have at the time. I'm getting financial aid for my electric bill. I'm getting food stamps, and I'm still just got nothing. And the irony is I'm paying Social Security and I'm so broke because of Social Security I'm having to file for Social Security disability to try and lift the load. Well, this has been going on for about 5 or 6, this has been going on 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. It's 4 years. And it's going to be the same way when April 15, 2019, I'm going to have to pay make a payment arrangement for 2018. even though I'm on the skids. If you see a Democrat coming down the road, Democrat congressman coming down the road offering to make your world a better place, shoot him. Because your wife, your bank account, and your daughter and your silverware aren't safe. And you're gonna wake up the next morning owing money to people you never even knew existed for things you never even asked for. I would happily forfeit. Social Security and Medicaid. I'd even give up the Medicaid if I knew that I wouldn't have to, that I wouldn't have to keep getting socked for this Social Security tax every year. I'd be able to survive. Well, I'm getting off the subject, but it comes down to this. I owe $5,000 to the IRS, and I've been paying on that for 4 years. And after 4 years, I still owe just about $5,000. Between interest and late fees and all this other crap they tack on, and the fact that they tack on it, I end up having to tack on a new pile of money at the end of every year that I allegedly owe them. And so I'm looking at this. I just had to go round with the IRS and explain, yes, I was late on my last couple of payments, but I'm going to get back on schedule. And, they put me back on the payment schedule, but it's still, it's bleeding me. It's bleeding me. And the consequence is that, look, I have been living in this trailer park for 10 years. And my finances have been so rocky and so shaky and being tapped out so much for the IRS. I just got a notice from my landlord. That's the fun thing. I own my house, my trailer, but I don't own the land it sits on. I rent the lot. And I'm screwed. There's no other word for it. I am screwed, shafted, because, again, late fees, missing months, over several years. I now owe them. I owe. This is humiliating to admit. I nearly broke down in tears. I owe them almost $5,000 for lot rent. I owe $4,990 lot rent, and the notice they gave me doesn't include late fees. And they're talking, I already had made an arrangement. I knew I was behind. Over a year ago, I knew I was behind. I was horribly behind. And I made an arrangement where I was supposed to be paying them $300 a month. I was supposed to be paying them $100 extra every month to try and catch up. And I'm not being able to manage it. And now, and I've missed a couple of payments too. And now I owe them $4,000. I owe them $4,000. I owe them $5,000. The landlord that owns the lot I sit on. I can't even afford to pay somebody professionally to come out here. I can't even pay somebody to come out here and mow my lawn right now. I got this one person, I paid her $20. She said she'd do it for $20. She hasn't shown up yet. And the only other person I know will do it, they charge $60. I don't have $60 to pay to have my lawn mowed. But I'm just my balls are in pardon my language, but my balls are in a ringer. And I just got a notice that says they're threatening to cancel my lot rent agreement and just basically kick me out. And I've got nowhere to go. I can't afford to have this this mobile home towed off this lot. I'll end up owing them money just for it taking up space. If I don't, and I have no place to go, and I'm just screwed. And I'm shafted. I held out for so long, and for the past 3 or 4 years, this has been me trying to bail out a sinking ship with a paper cup. I'm ashamed. I don't mind telling you, I'm ashamed of myself. Everything I've done, I've not been able to, and I've failed to be a good businessman. I've failed to be a good custodian of what I have. I've failed to, and it's a source of shame. And all I can do is apologize to all of you. I've failed, and I'm in a desperate situation. So what I've done is I've gone out. I'm basically passing the hat. The whole point, I've done, the whole, I'm always trying to come up with some sort of, art, thing. I've just broken down. I've started a GoFundMe. I've started a GoFundMe. To try and raise money to get both the IRS and the landlord of what they want from me. If I can get at least part of what I'm going for, I can at least stave off the landlord. If I could give him a couple thousand, at least, I might be able to. Let's be honest, they'd be much better off with somebody perpetually in debt to them than to have to throw me off the lot. But I'm not gonna, I do not know if I can get this to overlay. There we go. This is what I'm ashamed of this. I should be able to. I should be providing enough content, enough artwork, enough comics, and enough everything else that this should not be an issue. But no, I've gotten, I've, you know, oh, I'm sick, oh, I'm, you know, I've got all these other problems, oh, I've got this, oh, I got that, and I just I let myself fade away, and but even at my peak, I don't know, you know, even at my peak, I don't think I could have pulled in. So, you know, you know, even if you don't want to throw anything out, if you pass the word on, because I'm up a creek and I've got, you know, this is it, all I can do. That's all I can do. This is all I can do is hold my hat in my hand and beg. And, you know, and in the end, it'll even in the end, even if I make the goal completely, even if I make the goal completely, I'm still going to be square one, ground zero. So, you know, this isn't a cop out. You know, if I get this money comes in, if this money comes in, if I get enough money to pay off the IRS and the bill collector, you know, the landlord, and you just pay off them and just straight to zero. You know, when it's all said and done. You know, I'm not going to be walking off with fat stacks in my pockets. I'm going to be, you know, back to square one. So I'm going to have to bust my hump one way or the other. This is just so I can stay alive. This is just so that I can stay in my home. And right now I can't seem to get anybody to even mow the damn lawn for me, even if I pay them. I'm sorry, it's driving me crazy. Everything that one thing. I've lost track. I've lost track of the number of people I have tracked down and who have spoken to me. I said, you know, you know, you want to mow lawn for money? He said, oh yeah, I'll mow lawn for money. And I give them $20. I give them $30. I give them $40, and they never frickin' show back up. Or I'll get them to mow it once or twice, and then they vanish off the face of the frickin' planet. And it's killing me. There's nothing more frustrating, more humiliating, more shaming than to be unable to manage your own affairs. To be able to earn an honest enough living that you can take care of yourself, and damn, I can't even find anybody who's reliable enough to you know, just to run chores. There's one guy, last year I had this one guy, you would not believe. Yeah, he said, oh, you need me to do anything, I'll do anything for you, here, I'll help you out, I pay him on my lawn. He'd come out here, and it was like he would, you know, like almost miss the yard. He'd borrow the landlord, he'd borrow the groundskeeper's riding mower, and do a couple of quick laps around my trailer. He wouldn't trim, he wouldn't finish up the job, and he'd say, oh, I'll come back tomorrow, I'll come back next week, I'll come back in. Oh, but it's raining tomorrow, oh, it's hot tomorrow, it's going to be cold tomorrow, it's going to be wet tomorrow, it's going to be dry tomorrow, it's going to be weather tomorrow. And he never finished. I don't think he ever finished, entirely finished a lawn. You know, just finished it, you know, just mowed it, you know, trimmed it with the weed eater, and done. He half-assed it for like 2 or 3 years. I would give this guy, you know, I would ask the guy, you know, I can't get out of the house. Could you run to the grocery store for me? And he said, oh, no problem, no problem. I give him the card. I give him the money. I'm just so dumb. I'm just so desperate for somebody to help me that I'd take whatever he'd do. He would take the card, and he would forget about it for 2 or 3 days. I'd send him off to pick up some groceries. He'd come back a week later. Half the items on the list wrong. And so, you know, I'd send him out with money to pick up something or buy something. He'd come back with some crap he picked up. He was dipping. You know, he was. You know, he would go out but there was nobody else I could call on. There was nobody else I could rely on. Finally I had enough. I stopped calling him for anything. And he got mad because word started going around this trailer park. You know, you couldn't count on him for anything. And he blamed me for his reputation. And seriously, he came around and said, well, you telling stories about me about... I wasn't telling nobody nothing. Well, my neighbors came over and I mentioned that I had hired him to mow the lawn. He said, oh, that boy came, you know... The noise was coming back to me. It wasn't going out, you know. And, you know, I haven't been, you know, I have been, you know, unable to mow my lawn almost since the first year I lived here. I'm just not physically able. You know, they come out here. You know, if I had tried to mow the lawn back when I first, they would come out here and find a dead fat dude lying out in the backyard. He had a lawn and it killed him. But I can't, you know. My people. Even when I could pay people to help to do things around, I couldn't get anything done because nobody would do anything. They wouldn't do it right. They'd half-ass it. They'd make promises about doing something and they never do it. You know, I'll tell you the real reason. You know, the reason I put up with it. Half the reason I put up with it so long, and and put up with so much, because I feel guilty. I feel guilty, and I ought to feel guilty because I felt, you know, this is all that this is just as much as I deserve. You know, because I've been unable to fulfill so many promises I've made myself. And I felt this is my due. This is my due coming back to me. This is karma. This is God bringing back my own failure in my lap. Okay, do review video. Do videos. Yeah, I'd love to. You're supposed to be able to monetize these things. I have no clue how to do it. Do reviews for Friendship is Magic episode. Yeah, political. I thought that was what I was doing here. Political commentary. I really don't have a constructed format. That's the thing of it is. Yeah. Yeah, 1,000 subscribers. If I could get 1,000 subscribers to my webpage, if I could get 1,000 subscribers to my Patreon, you know, $1,001 subscriber, I'd be set. If I had 1,000 of anything right now, I'd be set. There you go, 1,000 M&Ms. Yay! That's the breakthrough point, isn't it? 1,000 fans. I'm going to call that the thumbnail, you know, the thumb mark, you know, the rule of thumb for, you know, if you have 1,000 of anything, you know, self-identified fan. You know, I've probably got several hundred fans. I'll ballpark it. I'll say several hundred. I've got several hundred fans at least who watch my site and wait in futility for me to finish stuff. Another thing, I've been squeamish about it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post a link on my Patreon page and on my web page, my home page, and everything else. to my stories on Archive of Our Own. Oh, doing reviews of the episodes. I gripe about the show all the time. Yeah. I could do reviews of the show. I could do a review of the show right now. I have to pick an episode. My word. I haven't watched the latest season. I have to sit down. I'd have to sit down and watch the show. I've got to watch the cartoons. It's my job. Wouldn't you like to say? Remember when you were a kid? Get away from that TV set. You're not going to make a living watching cartoons. You're not going to make a living watching cartoons. Surprise, Mom. Well, Joanne, the reason I haven't watched the latest episodes, the latest season, I'll be honest, I haven't really liked some of the developments that have come up. Okay, I didn't like it when they brought in Starlight Glimmer. I'm sorry. I thought I was annoyed when they redeemed Discord. But when they took Starlight Glimmer. I mean, she was a Nazi. She was a Nazi. She was a communist dictator in a terrified little tiny town. And then when that didn't pan out for her, she nearly destroyed the universe. That's right. She started ripping the time-space continuum to shreds. Why? My best friend left me alone when I was a little filly. I was. Okay, but yeah, I could do that. Now, how do you? Okay, self-promotional, self-setup. I need to set up graphics. I need to set up. I need to pick up. I need to sit down and watch the episodes and start doing reviews on them. Pick an episode, watch an episode, review an episode. What do I do? Do I call it? Do I make a new channel? Do I make a new live stream channel and call it, why MLP sucks? Yeah. Well, I got to point out, Joanne. Ponies are popular, but. The ironic thing is that okay, I'm going to notice something about my life. Over the course of my life, several dozen times people have come out of the woodwork and said, "Oh, this is the new big thing. This is the new big thing. This over here is the new big thing." And every single time, by the time it's reached the point somebody is coming to me and saying, "Oh, you need to get into this. This is the new big thing." It's no longer the new big thing. My Little Pony has been running for 8 seasons. My Little Pony 4 has been running for 8 seasons. They're already talking about My Little Pony 5. It's still big right now, I'm sure. But... No. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying that I won't do it. But I'm just making note. Let's put it this way. You can take this as sort of a karmic qualification. The instant I get involved in something that's supposed to be a guaranteed moneymaker, that's when everybody stops doing it. It happens a lot. Back when I was in the, back when I was big in the furry, I was big in the furry community. Oh yeah, I was kind of a big deal. But a trend would start up, certain types of commissions, certain types of auctions, so on, and certain styles of artwork and so forth. And I noticed that every time I got it, it would go great guns for like 2 auctions, and then nobody would touch it again. I'm like, what's going on? What, just, I was like one of those. The 49 Gold Rush. I was one of the guys that arrived last. It's just a thing with me. I don't know what it is. I'm saying I need to set, if I'm gonna do reviews, I need to figure out how to set this up so it's a little more organized. Right now, what this is what I've got right now is basically a copy of GoPro. Not GoPro. Is it GoPro? Yes. No. OBS Studio. A copy of I don't know why I called it GoPro. Okay. My setup right now is a copy of OBS Studio, a great big huge honking computer file full of images that are on slideshow, a set of a microphone, and just me logging on and shooting my mouth off. So it's I need to get on. Okay, first of all, I need to pick a day to I need to pick a regular day to live stream. I'm thinking out loud here. I need to pick a regular day. I need to set up some regular graphics, images to use for my show that would go up on the screen. It's like opening, the grand opening. When I first started out, I would open up with the entrance, thus spake Zarathustra. The opening to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Dun, 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 dun. And then they started doing the copyright thing, and I had to go, So, but yeah, I had such high hopes. I had such ambitions. But I'm not saying why I can't do it. I'm saying what I need to do if I'm going to do this. You know what? The only thing I have ever gotten out of lists, that's a funny thing. Every time I'll write down a list and then I'll forget the list. It took me years to the point where I could actually write down a grocery list and count on finding it again. It took me having to have somebody else pick up the groceries where I started. Man, you want to learn how to be meticulous about how you write down what you want for groceries? Have a teenager do your grocery shopping for you. This girl, God bless her, Alethea Thompson. She's a nice girl. She's just got her new. She's 16. She's just got her first car. And she's always needing gas money. But and of course, I can never seem to find her. Why is it that everybody says that teenagers are always on the phone? I can never catch her with the phone. But anyway, she goes. I wrote down on my grocery list once, to pick up some Bar S sausages. Bar S. That's it's a very cheap sausage and hot dog company. Like $5 for 50 pounds kind of thing. You will hate hot dogs before that package is done. Trust me. But I said, I wrote down at the bottom, I wrote on those, get a pack of Bar S Polish sausages. And she came back. She didn't have them. I asked, couldn't you find it? She said, yeah. I looked all over the place for Bar's sausages. I didn't say a word, but mentally I was face palming. That was... Oh, my. I started, I always started at Walmart because Walmart has like almost everything you're looking for. That's the thing about Walmart. It will have almost exactly what you're looking for, but not quite. I don't know why. But anyway, they have a grocery store. They have everything there, so all my personal needs, one place. So when she goes, when I asked her to do a shopping run for me, that's where I send her. And I asked her to get some donuts from the bakery once. I asked her to get, a dozen donuts. She brought back one of those bags of, like Dolly Madison little ringy-dingy donuts. Dude, smartphone? No, I haven't got a smartphone. I've got a desktop, I've got a laptop, and kind of an old laptop, and a one of those pad things. I keep the reason I have a laptop and a notepad is because whatever you call them is the backup, emergency backup. Back years ago when things were going a little bit better, I snagged myself a couple of those because I knew. I'd had at least 2 computers blow up on me, and I was thinking, I really ought to have some kind of backup for emergencies. So, there you go. Not an iPad. It's one of those Android things. I think the smart guys with the hats. Any plan where you lose your hat is a bad plan. Okay. Obscure humor reference. Okay. For those who are wondering what that thing on the bottom of the screen is. Okay. I'm sort of in a ringer. Several years of substandard personal finances have led to me owing several $1,000s to the IRS, which I am making payments on continually, and have been for the past 4 to 5 years, and have also resulted in me being several $1,000s behind in my rent for my lot, which my trailer sits on. And the landlord sent me a letter today saying that they are thinking about kicking me to the curb, canceling my agreement with them and throwing me out. And I can't even haul my I don't even have money to haul my crap off the lot. And so in shame and desperation, I've set up a GoFundMe to hopefully, if I do nothing more than just make a partial payment to them, of the initial sum, I can just something. I can save my it'll save my bacon. Now, I'm not on disability, but I am on food stamps and Medicare. Oh, okay, let's... The artwork you're looking at right now, this is part of a commission, some of the commission work I've been doing for Wild Wired Weasel. He is designing a tabletop RPG, role-playing game, and he has been commissioning me from art. For black and white art. So, keep your eye out for wild, 3 W's. Wild, wired, weasel. That's the name he talks to me by. And I want to say thank you to y'all, for sticking with me for all these years. I'm thankful for y'all, and I'm ashamed that I haven't been a better, what's the opposite of a patron of the arts? I look at all these, and I worked hours on each of these, and I'm looking at these. Oh, this needs this, and this needs that, and I need to fix that little part there, and that doesn't quite look right. And yeah. I remember when I could do 27 strips in a month. Makes me so angry. Of course, they look like crap. Of course, looking at my stuff now, I don't think they look much better. I've kind of contemplated from time to time switching, doing a few chapters of the of Tales of the Questor as text. And I kind of, I batted it back and forth. I don't know, I've gotten used to picturing it visually. I don't know. Need more Questor. I may switch to black and white or grayscale to try and get more pictures out, make it more stripes. Something. 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 Yeah, I'm thinking that the next scene we're going to see is going to be with the merry band arriving back in the Duchy of Fenwick again. For those who don't know, the Duchy of Fenwick, it's a shout out of bit to a book and a book series and a movie called The Mouse That Roared. The Mouse That Roared. It's about a fictional country in the middle of Europe. It is so tiny, it's literally something like, I think, it's measured in like, 10, 20 square miles. And it's so teeny, it's teeny tiny, it's medieval, they're tiny, they're desperate, they're struggling, and they decide that the best thing they can do, the most financially successful move they can make is to lose a war with America, because they see how America keeps rebuilding all the other countries that they conquer, and they have a casus belli for war, is that they have only one export. They have one export, and it's a particular type of wine. And they discover that an American wine company has been making a cheap knockoff of their product. And so they decide, okay, that's, the Duchess, who rules the Grand Duchy of Fenwick, declares war on the United States. And so they send their army, all 12 of them, and their medieval chainmail to conquer the United States. Well, they arrive in New York City just as they are conducting a massive emergency drill. An old air raid drill, air raid style drill for the entire city. The entire city is down in the subways and down in the basements, down and they come in there. Where is everybody? And they go marching up the street. And it just so happens that at the local university is a particular genius who is in the process of building a new super bomb, basically an atomic bomb that could literally blast half the surface of the planet off. And they happen to find him in his workshop, working all by himself, working on this bomb. No, he's not told anybody that he's doing this. He's kind of dotty, and they capture him. And then they get home and they capture the guy. They bring him back to the duchy, and they realize, oh crap! They realize what they've got. They've captured one of America's greatest nuclear scientists and the most powerful weapon in their arsenal. And they realize, oh crap, we won. Oh yeah, the two under the red umbrella. Oh yeah, that's my, I ship it. Well, I mean, you got two characters. One is actually a fan fiction character. It's a fanon character. That is one of the little background ponies, one of the little purple unicorn, the little blonde unicorn. You remember how Derpy got started? They saw Derpy, and he said, oh, and the fandom fell in love with Derpy. She was just a background pony with there was an animation error. She had crossed eyes. And they made up this whole story about her. They gave her a boyfriend, they gave her a family, and they even said she had a daughter. And then they saw they saw this little purple unicorn dancing around in winter wrap. It's her. That's Derpy's daughter right there. And boom, away they went with it. And then Derpy basically became a recurring character in the show, and now she's actually had speaking lines, and she's even had her name mentioned, and she's even got a boyfriend now, Time Turner, who's basically an XP of the the 10th Doctor Who, and what was it, the 100th episode, where they did all the fan shout-outs, and everybody was just freaking out. It was awesome. Well, the fans call him Dr. Who's, but everybody else calls him Time Turner, because he has an hourglass for a cutie mark. In the show, he's supposed to be a pony. He's like, yeah, great, magic, but science. And they haven't shown Derpy together with Dinky yet. And they call her Derpy Hooves, and they call the little one Dinky Hooves. And I heard that name, Dinky Hooves, and then they brought out Pipsqueak, and I thought, Pipsqueak, Dinky Hooves. Pipsqueak, Dinky Hooves. I said, what would you call it, Pip Hooves or Dinky Squeak? Dinky Squeak. Everybody, the two tiniest ponies in town, In the next entire generation, they'll be so tiny and so cute, they'll just disappear. Oh, yeah, fans rule, but they can drool, too, Lord, for your peace of mind, don't go anywhere don't go browsing the fan art websites without filters on. Seriously. You will get an education you will never forget, no matter how hard you try. People got issues. Yeah. Oh, I'll do fan art. Hey, for those who want to know, I'll draw, you know, I do the pony thing. I draw pony art. I draw pony pictures. You guys, you want me to draw you a picture of a pony? I do the pony. Pony's cool. I remember, you know how I got into the fandom? You know how I got into the My Little Pony fandom? I was cruising YouTube one day, and there were a couple of guys who do game and cartoon reviews. And I saw these two guys are doing a review of My Little Pony. You know, they were doing a review of the first couple episodes, the very first couple episodes, and I said, this is interesting, and I started playing it, and the two guys were saying, you know, they said, the first thing that came out of the mouth, okay, we have to turn in our man cards now, because they watched it and they loved it. And they say, you know, and they say, if you know, I mean, they were serious about it. They were instant fanatics. They say, if you don't like Fluttershy, if you hate Fluttershy, you hate life. I wish I could get to, man, I would love to be able to, but I'll tell you straight up, I don't want to be out in public. Not in the physical condition I'm in now. I literally have to wear hospital gown because my legs won't fit through pants. I look. Yeah, have you ever gone to a Walmart late at night and just stared in abject horror at some of the things wandering the aisles? I look like one of those. I'm not exaggerating. This is why I've become so, you know, I can't even get out, you know, I have trouble getting down my front steps. Traveling all the way to a convention, oh, I'd probably do myself a fatal injury or something. I am a 47-year-old man trapped in a warranty expired body. So, if I could telepresence, hey, I'd do that. But, as far as the world's concerned, I'm a talking head. Gotta be. I gotta be. You would seriously think you would like me to do reviews of TV shows and cartoon shows? Some of them make my eyes bleed, let me tell you. Have you seen the voice of... I want you to picture the most horrified Victorian era matronly voice. Have you seen what they have done to the Thundercats? I mean, it's picture the Thundercats. You remember the Thundercats, you know. You remember the Thundercats. You remember how cool they were? Now I want you to picture the Thundercats drawn in the style of Adventure Time. And that's not an exaggeration. It's exactly what they're doing. That's the revival they're coming up with. Sitting there, why? My eyes are burning. It's burning into my brain. It's just why? Yeah. I have one big beef with the Thundercats. They did not look like cats. They looked like human beings with body paint. I'm like, you can't draw a cat face on these people? You know, just little cat nose, something? No, not gonna do that. We'll just use these human face templates and some body paint. No. I never watched right? When I was a kid, we didn't have cable TV. We didn't have cable TV. We didn't get cable TV until I was like 18. And that was only by accident. because we moved into a place that still had cable, running for a month or so. And oh man, we had the TV, the black and white TV with the aerial antennas, and about 5,000 square feet of aluminum foil. So we get one channel, one fuzzy channel, and maybe PBS fading in and out. And of course, if you're a family like that, the father of the household, the man in the house, always seems, it's like they're possessed by this cosmic delusion that they're a broadcast engineer of some sort, and that if they play with those antennae in the middle of the show long enough, they'll get a clear picture. You ever have one of those days? Come on, Dad, we're watching Flipper. Oh, hush! I've almost got it. Yes. Or Betty, at the fun one when they had the roof antenna, those great big giant things that look like they belong on a grill up on the roof. And we moved into a trailer. He bought one of those. God only knows where he got it, and he stuck it up on a pole up on the hill behind our house. And we'd have the windows open, and he'd be swinging, and he'd be manually moving this giant antenna back. Is it clear? Or better or worse? Better or worse? Better or worse? It sucks, Dad. Put it down. I remember the first time I saw a commercial for a VHS recorder. The guy was going, it even has pause and reverse. I'm like, holy crap, they found a way to let you fast forward through the commercials? I seriously thought, you could do that with a live broadcast. Our family was seriously late adopters of technology. Now that Debbie and I, my sister and I have been out of the house for decades now. Once we moved out of the house, Dad started buying all sorts of tech toys. He's got one of those quadcopters. No lie, he bought himself a model plane. He bought himself, he bought himself one of those quadcopters, and he showed me footage of the thing from the camera from it, and just like a mile straight up. The closest I came to that when I was growing up with them was he bought one of these beginner so-called RC planes, the ones that ran on string. It had a little gas motor, and you'd start it up, and you were supposed to stand in one place and turn in a circle, controlling it by strings that ran from, all the way ran up to the wing. And you turn around and 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 around, and then you fall down and throw up, and the plane crashes. That thing didn't last long. A couple of wallops straight into the ground at 100 miles an hour, and that was it. Don't worry, we'll fix it. And he takes, it's set in his workshop, and finally threw it away. My word. Anyway. Yeah, nowadays, when the president, back then when the president talked, everybody was listening on every channel. Nowadays, you can't get them to listen to him. Obama comes back, wants to talk, and everybody screeches to a halt. It was all over YouTube, for crying out loud. I don't care what he has to say. I didn't care what he had to say when he was president. Except to wonder, oh crap, what are you going to do to us now? But now he's not president and they're paying more attention to him than ever before. That's how you get the press to listen to you and worship every word you say. Be an ex-Democrat president. Let's see. I gotta write this down. I'm gonna write this down. You seriously, you know, I've tried to do the review thing before. I don't know why I didn't. I've just gotten into the habit of ad-libbing. Turn on the Random Slice Show. Hi, everybody. I'll think of something to talk about. I don't know what. Gee, I wonder why I don't have any more. I have a grand total of 8 viewers. 8 live viewers. Wow! I'm so excited. I could just pee myself. Ah! Let me think. Okay, one. Now, if I'm going to do reviews, you know, the usual thing is to grab still shots from the episode of the show you're talking about. I am not sure about how to do that. Okay, one regular show graphics. I'm gonna keep using the same music. It's free. I've got like a screen somewhere that says Spleen Squeezums, and that would work. Be nice to raise money this way. This is what they say, you know, this is what they say now. If you don't have a regular job, you know, they say, you know, don't, you know, they just, you know, they're telling people now, don't depend on a job as your only source of income. And they're presenting it as, oh, this is such an innovative idea. This is a desperate idea. This is what people do when jobs aren't paying enough. Online songwriting competitions. Ew, no. I am in no position to judge music. I know what I like. You know, I know what I like to listen to, and I know like what, but, you know, any solid critique of music is... I think it sucks, you know. That's pretty much it for me. You know, I can't give informed or educated or even a coherent critique of music. As long as it's in key, what am I supposed to say? Oh, I know, negative reinforcement. Talking about, you know, everything wrong with this or everything wrong with that. I know what I'm saying. I know what you're saying. Okay, but I'm saying if I'm going to set, you know, if I'm going to do something like that, if I got to, basically you're telling me you need to make this show more organized. I hear you. This is very ad-lib. You know, even when I'm not, you know, on, you know, even when I'm not just coming on like, you know, big. And, you know, I can't begin to tell you just what I feel about that. But, it needs to be structured. The problem is, that's the thing, is, you know, I would try and structure it up. You know, back when I first started doing live streaming, I would structure it up. I'd have specific graphics and stuff that I'd use, and I'd have certain music that I'd use, and all that. And then I started getting all these hassles. The programs that I would use, that I depended on to work in a certain way, would suddenly stop working. Several of the programs I used to, it was only fairly recent that I managed to get this program working properly. Open source broadcasting system, it took me forever to get it to work right. And Minicam and several of the other programs that I relied on just kept working worse and worse. Because the people that were writing them and updating them weren't doing a good job at it. And and I would have to drop this or that or the other just so I could get on the air. Yeah. Oh my. Actually, I pulled those two fanfics. Fanfic is crap. I have to consider them an old embarrassment. They were very crude, very rude, very lewd, and they were not written very well either. And ironically, those were my first two stories. But there you go. I've got so many thousands of things. I got so many things that I'll work on this in a little bit, and there's too many irons in the fire. If I'm going to have that many irons in the fire, there better be a, I don't know. I don't know what the metaphor would be. Is the sound out again? Testing, testing, testing. Is the music working right? Can you hear the music? Can you hear my voice? I don't know what to tell you, Ben. Video output low. I don't know what that is. I don't know why it does that. Is there somebody out here? Is there somebody in my neighborhood playing like Call of Duty or something? I don't know. Anyway, what was I? Okay, try and get regular show graphics, regular theme. Screen caps of shows. I'd love to know what the regular TV... Do they pre-script it, or do they have a Foley board that they let them switch between images, or what? Well, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate that. For those who are on my Patreon, there's a couple of new desktops up. I'm almost caught up to July. But, April, May, and June have been posted. I also need to concentrate on the comic strips, too. Okay, I'm trying not to go in a dozen different directions at the same time. That's one of the things. So, it's interesting. Every time I've tried to simplify my life, I end up making it more complicated. This is why so many of my strips, I said, okay, these guys are going on hiatus more or less permanently. They're posted on the website. You can look through the archives such as they are. But I said, okay, no more. of course, I tried to do that, you know, and part of the reason I started doing so many comic strips because I have, you know, my muse was all over the place. I mean, it's like a toddler on Red Bull. What's this over here? What's this over here? What's this? Let's try this over here. Let's try this over here. Ugh. I think I'm going to hang around for... It's 10:30. I'm going to hang around till midnight. What the hell? Pardon my language. I'll hang around till midnight. You know, it's a nice round number 12. It's nice around midnight. That messed me up as a kid, you know. 12 a.m. was midnight, but 12 p.m. was middle of the day. I'm like, whose idea was that? I remember the old Indian saying about daylight savings time. They told some chieftain about, oh well, this region is under daylight savings time, which, you know, spring forward and fall back and all this other stuff. He said only a government worker would think that you could cut the top off a blanket, sew it on the bottom, and have a longer blanket. Blah. Boo. Anti-meridian. Boo. Man, even with all the images files I have, you know, I have like just hundreds of images, and it still blows through them all on the slideshow. I don't know. I used to use those you know, funky random screensavers. You know, that would generate different shapes depending on the music playing, that kind of thing. Remember years ago when they were an automatic feature added with any music or sound file program. Me, I'm so old. Me, I'm old. Me old. Me have Roman numerals. Here's an idea for you. Story ideas. Now, I have a file. You know, what I forgot what I call it. But on Archive of Our Own, I've got this is where I ended up with 2 new stories, 2 new worm fanfics. I'm like, you fools, you're going to explode. But oddments. Just random story ideas, you know, a chapter or 2 of them. I've had some that I've been tinkering with, you know, in the back of my head for ages. You know, a lot of the fanfic writers, they have at least one place where they post their drabbles, story ideas, fragmentary stories, that kind of thing. And I've got one of my own. A Harry Potter story where he's a vampire. A Harry Potter story where where the Horcrux in his scar is actually alive, aware, and is his best friend. His imaginary friend is his Horcrux scar, basically. And another one where the My Little Pony cast ends up in Hogwarts. You know, I had to go to extremes. They say when you write fantasy, you're best if you stick to one big idea. If you have 2 or 3 different big ideas, it sort of diminishes the whole thing. But my idea was, you know, the cast of My Little Pony goes to Hogwarts with Harry Potter. And in order to make it work, I had to move Hogwarts somewhere where the Ministry of Magic couldn't make a nuisance of itself. And I've still got a couple of chapter drabble ideas for that. I had an idea for another Harry Potter, you know, a self-insert Harry Potter story. Guy wakes up He's in Hogwarts. Now you remember the incident with the troll in first year in the bathroom? My idea is this guy wakes up. He wakes up and he's the troll. You know, every other, I've never seen anybody do that one. And his first thought is, he wakes up, he sits up, and he's surrounded by he's sitting in a smash bathroom, surrounded by really upset witches and wizards, and his first thought is, play dumb. I haven't even started on it yet. I haven't even got it. I was going to call it by the name. He ends up with the name Og. I don't know if you remember this TV show. It was a cartoon. It was based on the way the book The Way Things Work, with woolly mammoths that, you know, they use illustrations for. Well, anyway, it was called Crow. Crow was a comic about a Cro-Magnon boy and his caveman, you know, his adoptive caveman family, and the super intelligent woolly mammoths who taught him about the world. You know, and it was all about, levers and fulcrums and pulleys and, you know, and just basic science, you know, the way things work episodes. And one of the characters was named Og. And I was going to base this protagonist, he was going to play Og for all he was worth. It was a hysterical character. Because, you know, every time something bad happens, it's okay. We just gonna die. I was going to call it Og. But and so you got this guy, he's trapped in the body of a troll. And his first goal is to convince them not to throw him, you know, not to kill him, and not to throw him out into the forbidden forest. And so he plays dumb. He wakes up. He's sitting there, and they're astonished when he starts speaking English. And, you know, Dumbledore's like, "What is your name?" He's still rubbing his head. Og! Og, we want to know, how did you get into this? And he realizes where he is. You know, really intelligent guy trapped in a really stupid body. He's, okay, play dumb. And he's like, Og not know. Og one munchie. Og go in tunnel. Stinky tunnel. Want to come upstairs? Or go in room? Frizzy heads. Frizzy head in there. Frizzy head go, ah! And all go, ah! Why'd you try to smash her? Fuzzy thing scream at you. You smash it. You know, just playing that out. And his whole goal is to, he manages to convince them to hire him. You know, want make shinies. Take shiny, get stuff. And he convinces them to make him the world's first house troll. They give him a bath in the moat, kills half the fish. And his goal is to, his goal is to try and protect the Golden Trio from, you know, without anybody finding out that he's smart enough, you know, without anybody finding out just exactly how smart he is. I also had the idea of him being adopted by the Nakmakfeegle, Harry Potter. You know, the little blue men in the We Free Men, Terry Pratchett. He arrives at you know, the Nakmakfeegle, they find a wee baby sitting out on a porch in the middle of the night, and they kidnap him, run off with him, up, and little feet running off into the dark. And when he arrives at Hogwarts, he's a full-blown Scottish Highlander. You remember the Scottish character from Camp Calamine? Picture Harry Potter like that. Hey, let's get this show on the road. So, you were raised by the Fairfolk? Nah. By the Nakmakfeegle. Well, that must have been interesting. It must have been exciting when you just picture McGonagall trying to, talk to her, be all sophisticated. Well, it must have been quite a thing to find out you were going to Hogwarts. Aye, I nearly wet my kilt. Also had other ideas like Harry Potter. He arrives at Hogwarts and he's a fully trained paladin. Excuse me. I got, ideas bubble. They're all over the place. Ideas are easy, but shaping, following them through to the end, making a full, complete story. You have no idea. You have no idea how proud I was of myself for actually finishing writing Nightmare Night and Nyx, finishing Nyx's Family, and finishing Alicorundrum. And you have no idea how frustrated I am that I can't seem to just squeeze out a few more chapters of Shirley's class. It's just painful. Hey, if you do one-shots, that's still something. Even if it's one shot, it's a fuel. It's a fuel for imagination. It's a fuel for ideas for other people. And you never know what kind of crop you'll yield. What kind of things will grow. And some of the greatest stories in history, some of the greatest writing in history, one-shot stories. What's his name? O. Henry. Look up O. Henry. He's O. Henry. You just don't know it. They've basically been cribbing. Every TV show writer has been cribbing off of O. Henry for like the last 100 years. O. Henry wrote The Gift of the Magi, The Cop and the Anthem, dozens of stories. They're practically American folklore. The Ransom of Red Chief. And his stories were all short stories. He didn't do novels. He's a man who got in all sorts of trouble. He was a scoundrel. Read up on his history. He wrote most of his stories while in jail, in prison. heck of a thing, you know. There are thousands of people who've completed novels that nobody can remember a word of, and are glad of it. Yeah, I did, and I have. I've gone through my insurance company. I'm on Medicaid, but it's through a company, a local company called, I keep forgetting the name of it. It's here somewhere. Molina Medicaid. And one of the things they do is they did a thing where they basically act as my representative, and they apply, and I went through the paperwork with them and sent it in, and now they've sent in the application, trying to get the paperwork rolling, and now it's a big old game of hurry up and wait for the government. A little aggravating. It tells you something about our Social Security system that the first step they recommend is to hire an attorney. What does that tell you? Now, what is it thinking? Brabbles. And it's interesting, you know, in Harry Potter, you know, you recover from Dementor attack by eating chocolate. I wonder if she had this in mind when Rowling wrote this. She they know that chocolate has things in it, you know, theobromine and several different chemicals in it, in chocolate, that your brain produces when it's happy. Well, that sucks, Mark. Mark, you have a life-threatening heart condition and legal blindness, and you can't get disability because you could technically work? What it is, they spent what it comes down to is that they spent all the money in the Social Security account, and they're hoping everybody will die before everything catches up with them. Hey, I'm living my life kind of like the government does. That's sad. That's wrong. I'm sorry to hear that, Mark. Government sucks. I kind of wonder about it. I mean, I'm looking out here and I'm seeing all these people. Everybody talks about all these people who are on welfare, and you know, and they're obvious welfare cheats, some of them. And then you're talking about all these people here are getting thousands of dollars in benefits without even trying. I'll be honest, my first thought is, what am I doing wrong? And it comes to this. These people do have job skills. Unfortunately, their job skills consist entirely of wheedling money out of the government. And that's not really their fault either. That's what they've been trained. That's what they've been educated in. Either by their parents or by their educators or whatever, what have you. You know, instead of being taught how to, you know, that's their career, that's their job, that's their skill set, that's their training. They have learned how to jump through all the hoops to get whatever they want out of the government. It's like that guy, you remember the guy with the dollar signs all over his suit who was on TV all the time? You know, free government money, free government money. You know, you buy his book and you get free government money. That was his job before he started selling those books. He made that book. He invented that book. And he used to work, one of his jobs, he was one of thousands of people who work for corporations and apply to the government on behalf of their corporation for all these government grants. And it was his job to sift through all these thousands and thousands and thousands of government programs, fill out the forms, you know, dot all the I's and cross all the T's, send them in, and get money for the corporation. And he hated himself for it. He hated himself for it. That's why he quit. That's why he went out and he wrote that book and started selling money. He figured, you know, these people, the government's giving money away, maybe some actual on-the-street people ought to get some of it. That's how he got his start. That's why. So, you know, you can talk about, you know some people just sneer at him, but I'm like, my goodness, he's at least trying to pry the people's money out of the government's greedy fingers and get it back to the people. So, you know, what can you say? What are you gonna say? I can't fault people anymore. I've reached a point where I can't really fault people for wanting to do whatever it takes to get money from the government. When I realize I know too much about economics, I know too much about the government, I know too much about how the government ended up with the money in the first place. They stole it. They cheated the American people out of it. And it's certainly not going to do any good in the hands of bureaucrats and bankers. So what can you say? What can you do? What can you... we got an entire segments of our population that waste their lives doing nothing but trying to get their own money back from the government. When it never should have been in the government's hands in the first place. It's sad, it's hard, it's painful. Like I keep telling you, this is the reason I've got this GoFundMe going on right now. Nearly all of my personal financial problems springs from the fact that because I make what little money I do, self-employed, I have to pay Social Security tax. And because I have to pay Social Security tax all on my lonesome, I get no break. Even though I fall below the poverty, if it weren't for Social Security, I would be paying no tax at all. That my income is that low and has been that low for years. I would not need to file for Social Security if it weren't for the Social Security system in the first place. Oh, they'll tax everything. Yeah, I love that one too. They keep coming back to check and make sure I've, not turned into a millionaire in the past 6 months. Anyway, thanks to being leached off by the IRS, I have to pay them. It's ranging. It ranges between. It's ranged between $50 to $100 a month, and it's usually on the high end over the past 4 to 5 years. Just paying them and paying them and paying them and paying them and paying every single month. And because poof, every month, poof, and I'm left with what's left, and I have to choose. Often I have to choose. I'm not a frugal, penny pinching wise man. I've made a lot of, I made foolish purchases, and penny nickeled and dimed myself to death often, but I would not be having, I wouldn't be having a fraction of the troubles I have if it weren't for the fact that the IRS is bleeding me white for something that's supposed to be for my benefit and that I will never see. I will more than likely never see a dime of Social Security. FDR was an absolute bastard. He was a socialist. But sitting in the big chair during a war gets you all sorts of brownie points. Once you get on the system, you're stuck. It's a big leap outward, big leap upward to get out of that hole. It's supposed to be a ladder up, but it's a ladder down into a pit. And there's no help for it. Yep, that was the trap that picture, a couple of pictures back. That was the trap that Apple Bloom put Malfunziona in. I've had a few people write me and say, the way you've got that thing, none of the gears can turn. I'm like, yeah, read the story. It would have to be a lot more sophisticated than I've drawn it for it to work the way that it's described in the story too, but it gets the general idea across. The general idea is that Malfunzio was a Draconicus. His power was in making machinery malfunction. And the more machinery he broke or made malfunction, the more powerful he grew. And the only way to trap him, what she did, she trapped him in a box of gears. They were arranged in such a way that they would not work. You could not turn them, you could not open them unless you broke them. If you broke it, you fixed it. By fixing it, you broke it. And that paradox is what kept him trapped. I could have sworn I put the. Let me see something here. No, I couldn't. The images wouldn't show. I wanted to put the Girls of Summer images on there. For some reason, they won't show up. Let me see here. They should be PNG images. I don't know why it's not. It's a PNG file. Documents. Girls of Summer. They're PNG files. I don't know why they're not opening. Let me try again. Okay, and there we go. I don't know why I did that. Open. There we go. Okay, now they'll show. There you go, zippity doo-dah, zippity hey. Flippity flop. I don't know why it's... Excuse me. Give you in a few minutes you get a sneak peek of the Girls of Summer. I draw seriously spicy cheesecake, I'll tell you that. Yes, Darth Vulcan, unless I've canceled it, it's an ongoing project. So, yeah, Darth Vulcan is still there. It's just, I haven't written anything for that story in a while. Yeah. I've seen some images of the new Spike with wings, and I'm like, didn't really work on that idea very well, did they? They should have changed the rest of his body to fit with the wings better. If you follow what I'm saying. The wings don't match the body, is what I'm saying. One of the things going to crop up in several of these stories is Spike going through puberty. And it's going to be, you know, the changes he goes through are going to be a little bit different each time. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that that's why I don't really follow canon that much anymore, especially when I'm writing my stories. I said this years ago, when they started doing some of the dumber things in the show that just grate on me, I said it's reached a point where Most of the best content is going to be from the fandom, not from the show. When they ham-fisted Twilight becoming an alicorn, you'll notice that the worst mistakes they made were all musical episodes. When they screwed up the Cutie Mark Crusaders, Cutie Marks, that was nearly all music. Rule number 1, don't sing the story. Show the story. Yeah, he should have been a little bit taller, a little more slender, similar physically in some ways, to an adolescent, to Ember, Princess Ember. That would have been, closer to it, more like what he, physically. But, they didn't want to change all the old drawings, I suppose. I don't know. That was interesting, when they first came out with the Cutie Mark thing. I saw the very first episode where they had the Cutie Mark, and it was a brilliant thing about coming of age, figuring out who you are, fitting in, and the peer pressure that comes from the stress of going through puberty. And I was like, poor Apple Bloom. And with every successive episode that involved the Cutie Mark, they forgot more and more of their own canon. Just threw it to the side for whatever was convenient. The Trouble Shoes episode was egregious, gratuitous in that regard. That was the whole problem with it. Everything about the Trouble Shoes episode contradicted everything that, from the first Cutie Mark Crusader episode on. One of the fundamental things is that, when you got your Cutie Mark, when a pony got their Cutie Mark, it was because they'd made a discovery about themselves. A big important realization about who they were, what they wanted out of life, what their challenges, and they threw that out. They forgot about it. And now they've got people swapping Cutie Marks and talents like they were trading cards. I'm like, what? You screwed this up. They've reached a point where everybody, I think they've just basically cycled out all the good people. Lauren Faust left, and then everybody she worked with, one at a time, had to be leaving, and being replaced. And eventually, they've lost, what made the show initially so great. They've got nobody to carry on the legacy, and they just became more and more toyetic as time went by. Okay, you had your first episode where they established, it can't, nothing can make it happen, and the Cutie Mark comes in. It comes in when it comes in, and it said something very special about the individual. It was something, it was part of, and they established as even Scootaloo got the message. We don't want to hear any more stories about discovering yourself. Even she got, eventually, she almost got that the Cutie Mark was about discovering about, some aspect of yourself. And then they had Twilight Sparkle's coronation, and suddenly, holy cow, they can swap Cutie Marks around, and all the ponies suddenly picked up a stupid ball. Well, I woke up this morning with a dress on my hip, and I woke up with, I've been growing apples my entire life, but I woke up this morning with 3 diamonds on my hip. That means I have to take Rarity's job. I'm like, what? But they at least got that the cutie market changed. The cutie market changed, but the talents hadn't. You'll notice that. They were still sticking with the canon that it was it was the talent that made the cutie mark, not the other way around. Then they got the episode with Starlight Glimmer, where she was stealing the cutie marks and the talents that came with them. I'm like, wait, stop. Go back. Look at the other episodes that have led up to this. Look at all the other episodes that, had cutie marks as a main plot device. That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. But of course, you'll notice in that particular episode, she'd take away their cutie mark and give them that equal sign mark. And every time they tried to use their talent, the equal sign mark flared up. It started glowing. It wasn't that they lost their talents. It was that the fake cutie mark was suppressing them so that they couldn't get their cutie marks back. Shades of Harrison Bergeron. For those of you who haven't read, Harrison Bergeron's a short story where where the society is so obsessed with making everybody equal that anybody who's slightly better than anybody else has to handicap themselves in some way. They have to wear weights. If they're stronger, they have to wear weights. If they're handsome, they have to wear an ugly mask. And, if they can sing music, they have to wear headphones that mess up their hearing, so on and so forth. Basically, a society with enforced mediocrity. Anyway, and there you go. That was the point. It wasn't that the ponies were losing their talents; it's that they were losing their cutie marks, and that they were being forced to take a fake cutie mark that suppressed their talents, made everybody quote unquote equal. So that still worked. And then they went on, and they had, and they went several episodes forward, and they had Starlight Glimmer swapping Celestia and Luna's cutie marks, and all the powers that came with them. I'm like, no. No matter what they do, every episode they threw away a little bit more of their own canon, a little bit more of their own story Bible. And it's terrible. It shows worse and worse with every episode. That's why I haven't watched the show in so long. Because what are they going to screw up this time? What part of the show are they going to ruin for me now? That's been my question. When you reach a point where you ask yourself, what part of the show are they going to ruin for me now? It's time to watch something else. Now, the funny thing is that the guy who wrote Harrison Bergeron, he wasn't trying to, issue a warning about equality of outcome. He was trying to parody the people who were worried about the equality of outcome movement. He wasn't issuing a warning, he was mocking the warning. Unfortunately, he failed. Or rather, fortunately. That's the interesting thing. People try to mock the truth, and they end up satirizing themselves. That was the idea. This was the idea. He was trying to say, look at how stupid this is. No way this would happen. And he ended up instead making the perfect illustration of just what is happening. They've got people out here. Good example. Here's one example. There is a movement among school teachers to break up best friends. You know, they've got it in their heads that it's unfair that certain children have one best friend and never share them with anybody else. And that other little children don't have a best friend. And so now that, you know, they're trying to, you know, and they've got a psychological movement. You know, their goal is, you know, if they see two children spending all the time, they'll break them up. You know, and they're trying to make a, you know, a big uniform communal herd of sheep or cows or something. Even cows have best friends, by the way. And they got people out there. We got people out there, you know, the thing where they're giving participation trophies to everybody. I remember seeing a commercial. They had some athlete doing a commercial. He gives his kid. His kid comes running up. He's holding a trophy. He says, "Yeah, I got my trophy, Dad." And they're getting in the car, and he looks at it and says, "Participant." And the father stops and says, "No way. You know, we busted our humps to win the, you know, to win the championship." And they get, you know, and he practiced for us. He went out there and he played. He scored so much, and they're giving him, and it showed him peeling the participant label off. He pulls out his pocket knife and scratching champion into. Hey, Dad, what you doing? Just a minute, son. Yes. Here you go. I'm like, yeah, you know. You know, a last final voice crying out against the madness. You know, I had somebody, I read somebody remark, you know, if Twilight Sparkle was really, you know, I don't know how old this comment was. If Twilight Sparkle was really trying to study friendship, she should have been, you know, trying to make friends with people who didn't want friends. And I'm like, you mean like Discord? Like, you know, like Discord, like she did with, she tried to reach out to Chrysalis. That didn't work. And so on and so forth. And I'm like, oh my. You know, like, you know, good work missing that entire boat, dude. What can you do? What can you say? Oh, I'm really not looking forward to My Little Pony 5. I've read where they're going to turn Applejack into a hip, happening, hopping city girl. You know, because there's, you know, real people don't relate to country folk. Like I'm saying, you know, most of the show is one episode where they're trying to make friends with one person or another that really isn't interested in it. There's somebody out there that needs punching. This is why I want, you know, just want to corner some of these people. Just punch, 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 punch. What's the hell's wrong with you? There's some people out there, you just want to just grab them by the throat. You're breathing air. You're breathing air that could be nourishing little innocent babies' minds. Why are we letting you breathe? They hate country folk. Country folk tend to be more conservative. we still believe, country folk tend to believe in family, and they don't go for all these alternative lifestyle things that are their bread and butter now. Oh, I got in so much trouble. You remember it was years ago now. I made a comment on, I made a post on film fiction, Friendship is Magic Fiction, the film fiction site is on my blog. The woman that did Rainbow Dash and Applejack's voice. I don't know whether she commissioned it or whether she just found it online, but she posted on her website a big old picture of Applejack and Rainbow Dash getting married. And she was like, "Oh, this is so wonderful! Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this so enlightened and progressive and forward? And just yay! Hooray, hooray! Aren't they gay? Just." And I was like, "You bimbo, you ignorant slut!" I was like, "Dang! I'm sure that Hasbro really appreciates." One of their voice actors dragging a couple of their child-oriented characters, through the gay pride mud, and boom, up in the air went everything, screaming, just screams and yelling and falling down, everybody running in circles, and oh my God, he didn't say that being gay was wonderful. It isn't. God incinerated a city because he was sick of it, and everything else that came with it. I'm not going to pretend that it was only because they were gay there. Sodom and Gomorrah. Do you realize how messed up Sodom and Gomorrah had to be? First of all, God, just Abraham had begged God, if they have so much as 10 righteous people, and we're not talking righteous as in, angelically perfect here. We're talking, just basically decent. Because you look through the passages and see what kind of guys the Bible called righteous. They were just fair to middling, most would say. But he said, if there are just 10 righteous men, will you spare those cities? And he said, okay, fine, And they couldn't find 10 in an entire city. And not only think about that. Think of how screwed up a city would have to be that two strangers walk into a city. And everybody in the neighborhood gathers together in a mob to drag them out into the street and rape them. And then when they're gathered around screaming and yelling outside the house, they get struck blind. And they exhaust themselves trying. They're struck blind. And they're still trying to they're wandering around blind, trying to find these guys and grab them so they could still continue what they had planned. That's dang, holy crap, just good night, good Lord Almighty. That was a seriously messed up city, but it didn't come out of nowhere. I'm sorry, this is as unpopular as it can get. This is as unpopular a thing to say as you can possibly say right now. But when a society allows homosexuality to run rampant, everything else is going to run rampant too, right after it. The homosexuals have dominated. The homosexual movement basically taken over our mainstream culture. They get a ridiculous and obscene amount of representation and praise and worship and petting and preening and all, and all the adulation that they ever wanted, from the mainstream media and in the entertainment industry, and that's not enough for them. They keep demanding more. Now that they've got that way, right now we've got pedophiles who have started, just walking the same steps, taking the exact same path that the homosexual community did to get to theirs. I hate to tell you, the homosexual community has a obscenely high percentage of pedophilic people and behaviors in it. Ask them what a veal hound is. Once you have thrown, once you've thrown the traces that far, where two men or two women committing sexual deviancy together is not only tolerated but lauded. What moral codes are left? What restrictions are left? And it shows. Like I said, we've got people pushing right now in the mainstream to normalize pedophilia. And you don't think it's happening? Here's a hint. In Mexico, the age of consent is now 12. Now, you hear about it happening on the far side of the globe, and you're like, oh, surprise, it's right across the border. They're not going to, it was a common thing, in most of the Asian countries, sex tourism. Men who had a taste for little girls traveling halfway around the world to get their jollies. They're not going to have to go too far now, are they? They're just going to have to cross the border to the south. I'd hate to be Taco Bell, man. I'd hate to make a run for the border. Remember that was their logo? Oh Lord, they've got little boys and girls. They got little boys dressing up as drag queens. They got the youngest drag queen in San Francisco. But you tell these things, and you're the evil one. You're the hate monger. It's exhausting. It's heartbreaking. It's tiring. To speak things constantly that used to be common sense. People can't find their own rear end. They can't pull their heads out of their rear ends anymore. This is what happens when a society doesn't have a faith. There's not much you can do for them. First thing they did after the new My Little Pony show, they ran out there and tried to claim Rainbow Dash was gay. Why? Because she has a rainbow. She got a rainbow mane. What? Oh, and because she likes sports and she wasn't into girly stuff. If any straight person had said that, they'd have screamed bloody murder about stereotyping. I've talked about this before. Scott Adams, the guy that writes Dilbert. In one of his comic strips, he introduced Tina, a tech writer, and Dilbert described her as brittle. When you brittle people, just you couldn't say anything to her, and she would take it as an attack. And Dilbert was like, I don't believe that. And Dogbert's like, here, watch this. He says, did you know that the Venus de Milo has no arms? And she's like, oh, you're saying the women just can't do any upper body lifting. And it's... And people flipped. And people started a letter writing campaign. Oh, you're stereotyping women. And he was like, okay. So he came back the next week and he drew a strip introducing another character called Antina. And Antina was, the antimatter version of Tina. And she had big bulging biceps, manly chin. And she walked into the room, you want to talk about carburetors? That kind of thing. And the idea is that introducing Antina, the most non-stereotypical woman ever. And after that was done, they accused him of stereotyping lesbians. Said, Scott, you can't win with these people. Don't bother trying. Slow, painful thing. Okay, update on the GoFundMe. I'd like to say thank you. I've got a few anonymous donors. I've got several donors here. I'm debating on whether to say their names out loud, but okay. Well, they're posted right on the page. Jay Raymond, Kathleen Kexel, Lewis Williams, Terry Smith, S. Smith, and a couple of anonymous donors. We're already at $250. The final goal is 10,000. If I even make half of that, that will, if I even make fourth of that, it's going to smooth things out. If I make half of that, it'll save my bacon with the landlord. If by some miracle the GoFundMe actually brings in the full amount, it will eliminate my debt to the IRS, and it will eliminate the debt to the landlord, and it will be a game changer. It will give me back a chance I basically thought I lost. Might even actually be able to, the money will all be gone. It'll be gone into the pockets of the landlord and the IRS, but it'll still give me a big leap forward just to get that boot off my neck. So I can only hope and I can only pray. And, shake the tin can once in a while. I drink. Talking about the show, my little point, I have to say, of all the characters, my most favorite has always been Fluttershy. She's just too adorable. But my least favorite is Pinkie Pie. It just sort of bugs me that, you know, the element of laughter, there's no subtlety to her. You know, she's like a Warner Brother, a cheap Warner Brother cartoon that never lets up and never stops. And that's not funny to me. That's not amusing. That's not happiness and laughter. That's annoying. Her best episodes were the ones where she showed deeper feelings, where she had times where she was, you know, seriously sad, seriously doubting, so, you know, just, but no, they make her goofy and stupid and too weird for anybody to understand. And no, it just doesn't work. They had potential for a very deep character there. Look at her life and her childhood. She grew up in a place where she was miserable, by her own admission. Of course, they all forgot that when she went back home for the holidays. And, you know, she acted like a complete idiot, like she was oblivious to the fact that everything her family did was dull, depressing, and miserable, even on the holidays. And this is supposed to be the same girl that threw the first party they had ever had. They should have had, you know, instead of having Applejack going, "Oh, I'm so sorry for interrupting, you know, for imposing on your tradition," they should have had a point where Pinkie Pie just breaks down in tears and admits, "This, you know, you're right. This is horrible. It's always been horrible, and it always will be horrible." And they never seem to want anything that even, my parents and my sisters don't seem to want anything to make them smile. And, you know, and this is why I ran away. This is why I moved all the way to Ponyville. Because they were so miserable and I couldn't do anything about it. No, they didn't go that way. They did that. We need to respect other people's culture. I hate to break it to you. Here's a profound thought for you. This is a thought that Terry Goodkind wrote down, in one of his books. He says, cultures do not have a right to exist. A culture is not a person. It is a collection of habits and traditions. And if they are bad, they should be done away with. And if you lift tradition and culture up above any place where they can be judged, you're only doing yourself harm. Yeah, that's one of the things, is that Pinkie Pie, with all her laughing and silliness, even in the worst situations, she does not come across as somebody who is providing encouragement. She comes across as somebody too stupid to realize that she's in danger. Oh, yeah. There have been several copies of my Yes It Matters story. Oh, yeah. Or they were copies of other stories. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It wasn't about any... They made up the rules. They changed the rules and used them particularly for me. They did not like me. And I don't expect everybody in the world to like... I don't expect anybody to like me. And I've reached a point where I'm too old to expect anybody to treat me fairly either. Because we live in a world where people reward themselves with injustice. They're all for, you know, truth, justice, equality, and fairness, unless we don't like you. Oh, My Little Pony's friendship is adventuring with... No, I can't say I've read that one. I've seen one where they did where they merged it with World of Warcraft. It was really clunky. Instead of merging it with the fictional world of Azeroth, they merged it with the game. And so you have these ponies running around using game mechanics in Azeroth, and it was like just like irritating. Oh, there are fan. I forget whether they're for. I forget whether it's for D20 or for. I forget what the system's called, but they have the rules so that you can play a My Little Pony Unicorn, Pegasus, or Earth Pony in Dungeons and Dragons, or Pathfinder. That's the name of it. Yeah, Generation 5. I've only heard rumors of it and seen a couple of drawings. But it's going to happen, you know it is. Oh yeah, in Warcraft I was like... no, I'm not going to have the, There's an entire line of self-insert fanfics that use the gamer system. Is basically the idea is that your protagonist suddenly starts gaining powers using a system that looks like an online role-playing game. He sees windows in the air and gets hit points and scores and except it's supposed to be, the normal world is everything else is still the normal world. You have to read it. It's, well, some of the stories are entertaining, but... Yeah, but I looked at, Warcrafter is sort of semi-modeled on what they call the Random Omnipotent Being, the ROB fanfictions. The idea being is that a random omnipotent being snatches a character out of one world, gives him powers from another, and drops him in a third. And usually the ROB is kind of a jerk. So, I went a little different with that. Of course, Adrian, that's the Warcrafter, that's the main character. Bayleaf, his agent is supposed to be kind of a jerk, or rather a benign jerk. He's in his own culture, of ascended cosmic, non-corporeal, trans-dimensional beings. He's something of a con artist. One that's heavily overdrafted. Of course, when I started introducing other characters that had been turned into Warcrafted in the story, a lot of people, several people complained, oh, you broke the pattern. It's supposed to be just one character that it's going through all this. I'm like, why? You watered down the story with all these. What gets me is that a lot of these stories, the ROV stories, the fan fictions, and the gamer stories, the protagonist almost immediately goes out and starts telling people, hey, I've suddenly become a living video game character. And of course, they have absolutely no problem getting everyone to believe them, and getting people to help them, and getting partners to be on their adventuring party, and so on and so forth. Just a little skepticism, on the side. I know arbitrary skepticism is seriously dumb, but. There's got to be levels where where even the people with superpowers are going, okay, yeah, right, not really, we don't think so. Chapter 21, haven't started on 21 yet. Deciding on what's going to be happening first. I'm thinking Coil is going to make his move. Either Coil or the Simurgh is going to make their move. And possibly both. Because Coil's supposed to be a jerk. I mean, he's supposed to be a villain that doesn't even respect the unwritten rules. And performing some super villainous act during an Endbringer attack, that's got to be the lowest of the low. Because, even the Nazi villains don't do that.
Well, let's be fair. You know, when you say you can't make people happy, they say they want new, but complain when they get it. Okay, yeah, sometimes that's a fair gripe. But when people say they want something new, they mean something new that's also good. New isn't a substitute for good. That's half the problem we have with the people making shows and fan stuff and all this now, is that they're just making absolutely awful stuff and slapping a big shiny new label on it and expecting everybody to gobble it up, like what they're doing with the Thundercats, or with all those incredibly ugly cartoons that come out of Uncle Grandpa. What the heck? And just absolute slop. But it's new. Or they take old characters and absolutely screw them up. Like what they did with Spider-Man. I'll complain about that until the day I die. Or until the day they retcon everything and bring Mary Jane back. I swear. There's an old saying, they could screw up a county fair, you know. Give them a winning formula, can't lose proposition, and they will mess it the heck up. Because, you know, like I said before, they want to pee in it to improve the flavor. Feed's a little fuzzy-wuzzy. Not much I can do about it. They keep trying to ride awful ideas on the coattails of successful ones. They want to push their social justice issues, so they hijack a legacy character like Spider-Man or Thor or any of a dozen others, and turn them into a caricature of themselves to insert their screwed up social ideas. They can't make anything good themselves, so they try and they try and chocolate coat their turd of a philosophy with other people's work. Look, I'm old enough to remember when Nick Fury was still white. They pulled it off with Samuel L. Jackson, because Samuel L. Jackson has a lifetime career of portraying badass characters. But everywhere else they've tried it, it's so obvious and so painful and so bad. And what they did with the Ghostbusters. turned it into an all-feminist cast, replaced their secretary with a mentally retarded man, and just flushed it down the commode completely. You hate it because you're misogynist. No, we hate it because it sucks. It bites wind. The current crop of pictures is from the Girls of Summer DVD rather. I managed to get a couple of DVDs burned, but I think I'm going to go ahead and look for somebody, either locally or online, who will batch produce them. This just isn't, it's just not, the DVD burner. I've got 2 DVD burners, and they do not want to cooperate. They were donated. One of the DVD burners was donated. External plug-in USB port, and 5 times. You try half a dozen times. And 5 of the 6 times it'll go wood and just stare at you. My. Let me talk about it. I waited so many years I waited for a sequel. A sequel to The Incredibles. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'd like to, but I'm not going to, I can't go to the theater anyway, but I wouldn't if I had, even if I could. But, I'm disappointed already. Okay, first of all, they failed to answer the most important plot hole of the first movie. Why did all the supervillains disappear too? And secondly, social justice messaging. Let's look at this. In the first movie, Mr. Incredible wants to be a hero again. He's miserable. He's unhealthy. He's fat. He's unhealthy. He's tired. He's miserable. He's just walking a walking mess because his life is meaningless to him, because he wants to go back to doing what he does best, because he wants to go back to being a hero, that makes him a bad father. That makes him a bad husband. That was the whole plot of the movie. That he was such a terrible person for wanting to have a meaningful life. Then we go to this new movie. Mrs. Incredible wants to go, back to being a hero. And that makes her a wonderful, progressive woman. And of course, Mr. Incredible is lousy at taking care of the kids when she's not there. He at least had a justification. He had just lost his job. And the superheroing he was doing was basically just hired work. He at least had a justification. She did it. Why did she do it? Because she got talked into it. But what makes him a bad husband makes her a great woman, woman, WOMYN. Girl power, Load of crap. He has to learn a terrible lesson about how I'm missing out on the most important thing in my life because I'm doing this. She, no lesson. She gets a free pass. And look at the first movie. He starts being a hero again. One superhero mission, one meaningful, real superhero mission, and he's a new man. He starts getting in shape again. He starts getting along with his wife again. Their relationship goes better. His relationship with his kids improves. It's amazing what, actually doing what you were meant to do, following your calling rather than just being an office drone. It's amazing how that works, isn't it? Yeah. She also liked how frisky he got too. But somehow, the fact that he was superhero, doing what he was meant to do. I'm sorry, the man could bench press a train. He's not meant for office work. And I love how sociopathic everybody is about it. He and Frozone go out and they save a bunch of people's lives. And they're talking about it like, oh, you really need to stop doing this kind of crap. Like he's going out for too many beers after work or something. Ugh. It makes me angry. It just makes me angry. I hated the whole ridiculous notion of superheroes working for the government and knuckling under because some idiot sues them. Well, there's your whole problem right there. If they had been independent, then the guy would have had nothing to hook onto. There would have been nobody to sue. But no, these superheroes were expected, they were all expected to be government employees. I had ideas for a story set in the Incredibles world, where a new up and coming superhero teenager, 18 something, call him Stingray, and his tagline, I don't do government work. And Incredible confronts him about it. He says, well, look what happened. You were a salary. You were a flunky with a suit and a company car. And when the public turned on you, the government threw you to the wolves. Why are you still working for them? People have successfully sued the government. And if the government thought that it was getting too far, they cut them loose and throw them to the wolves, just like what happened. What a mess. Just no common sense. What should have been a real follow-up is, look, in my comic, The Crusader is my attempt to make a Christian superhero, overtly Christian superhero. Make of that what you will. Part of me thinks it was a great idea. Part of me thinks it was a terrible idea. I don't know. A lot of superheroes are actually religious. There's several that are Jewish. Superman is Episcopalian, I think. Anyway, one of the things about Crusader is alternate timeline. Among other things that are different in the Crusaderverse, Zeppelins are still very popular because the Hindenburg never crashed. Or rather, they discovered the danger before it caught fire. The reason the Hindenburg crashed wasn't because of the gas. It wasn't the gas catching fire. It was the aluminum oxide waterproofing that coated the balloon. The chemical composition they used was the same as rocket fuel. Very stable, but if you hit it with a bolt of lightning, up she goes. Actually, the German government covered it up. The real cause for the Hindenburg crash, because they realized what they had their hands on, and they wanted to use the rocket fuel in their V2 bombs. But anyway, another thing, they have several different things that are different in the Crusaderverse. One of them is that the superhuman rights and the minority rights movement were sort of twinned together. And McCarthyism went after the superhuman community. One of the things they did is that the government tried to do a superhuman registration act, and the immediate consequence was that pretty much every superhero in the North American continent left for greener pastures. A lot of them moved to other countries, but entire swaths of them moved out to a flying island out over the middle of the Atlantic, and declared themselves a sovereign state. And they basically let the villains chew on them for a while. They say, Dr. Demento is tearing up New York City. Please help us. You say, what? You want us to come on shore so you can arrest us, right? No, it's not going to happen. And after a few rounds of politicians got their asses kicked in elections, they revoked the Superhuman Registration Act with extreme prejudice. Also, a lot of the violence that came with the civil rights movement was averted by the fact that parahumans, people with supernormal abilities, had joined themselves at the hip with the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. And in fact, Martin Luther King was assassinated in that story verse, and supposed to be that one of the thing of it was that there was a superhero who was there, acting as his bodyguard. There was a superhero who was supposed to be acting as his bodyguard. He was halfway across town. He was a speedster, and he found out about the plot to assassinate Martin Luther King Jr. And he ran halfway across the city and got there just in time for the bullet from the sniper's rifle to go through his shoulder, come out his back, and strike Martin Luther King Jr. in the heart. And in Crusaders' world, one of the most iconic images of the civil rights movement is that wounded speedster superhero cradling Martin Luther King Jr.'s dead body. And just weeping in despair because he'd failed him at the last second. You know, speaking of the superhero versus, one of the fundamentally, everybody talks about this. One of the fundamentally stupid things about the Marvel Universe is is the bigotry and prejudice against mutants. Okay, first of all, like any layperson could tell the difference between somebody who got their superpowers from a mutation and somebody who got their superpowers from a test tube. You know, they're still going to shoot laser beams out their ears and kill you. Well, if you want a full color image, my commission page is still open. You know, up on my main page, just click on commissions at the top of the page, and it takes you to an order page where you can, has little scroll down thingies, so you can pick what image whether you want black and white color, whether, so on and so forth. Actually, Ben, Martin Luther King Jr. was not a communist. That's a popular myth. In fact, he was a card-carrying member of the Republican Party. This is something that the Democrats do not like to talk about. He openly said that the Republican Party was the best one for the interests of the African American people, of the Negro community, as he put it. There were a lot of agitators and troublemakers and race baiters during those days. But Martin Luther gets tarred unfairly with the same brush. A lot of people don't like him because he agitated things. He stirred things up that everybody else wanted to let lie still. Great. Well, that's, you know, whatever you decide on. That's how I'll try and do it. That's why they call it commissions. Okay, it is midnight. It is 12. Did he associate with a lot of communists, or did he associate with a lot of people that were accused of being communists? Okay. Okay, it is 6 after midnight. So I said I was going to run till midnight, and that's what I've done. I got to figure out set up if I'm going to do regular reviews of things. I've got to set up, you know, stuff before I do it. Gotta make lists, gotta make screen captures, gotta watch tapes and stuff. I'll catch y'all later. Y'all take care of yourself, and pass on word about my GoFundMe if you could. I'd appreciate that. Y'all have a good night.